Thousand Autumns, is a Meng Xi Shi novel. This is an audiobook made by fans for other fans. Disclaimer. The main couple of the story is made up of two men. If you don't like it, don't listen. Thank you. Remember, subscribe and click the bell to stay updated on all the new releases. Enjoy. Chapter 102. For today's Ch102, Jianghu must have taken measures against ill-intentioned guests. Disciples had been left on guard at the base of the mountain, and just in case, Yi Baikan had even sent an elder, but now these newcomers were arriving one by one. The setup there was evidently useless. The appearance of the youth further complicated the already messy situation, and he had also mentioned Shen Qiao's name. Yi Baikan asked, "And what role might you have in Huanyu sect?" He was too young, and couldn't be Yan Wushi. It was not a surprise when the other answered, "I am Yu Shenjun, Huanyu sect Yanzongju's disciple. I heard that exciting things were happening today on Qingqinshan, so I came up to see. Yi Guanzu surely won't chase me away." "Yi Baikan, you are a guest, this poor one would not exclude you. Let's add some seats for our esteemed guests." Yuan Xiaoxiu sweetly said, "No need, Yi Guanzu, sooner or later we'll have to fight, to sit down and have to get back up again, that's too troublesome." Yu Shenjun smiled, "If you don't want to sit, that's your business. I just saw Shen Zhang after a long parting, I'm feeling quite happy, I've got to go over and catch up." As he said this, he walked towards Shen Qiao, and sat directly in Gu Hanbo's spot, turned his head to smile at Shen Qiao. "You look well, Shidi." The term Shidi slipped out casually. Zhao Qiaying, who was sitting beside them, was alarmed. She thought, even if Shen Qiao and Yan Wushi were close, it shouldn't have come down to abandoning his sect and joining another. Shen Qiao couldn't laugh or cry. "Yu Gongzi, how come you're here? Where is Yan Zongju?" Yu Shenjun teased, "Shidi, why are you being so distant with me? I was the person who walked with you on my back for more than half a shishan under Banbu Peak. Back then you were so cute when you confusedly called me Yu Shikshan, did you forget? I'm so hurt." Hehuan sect's arrival, unlike Yu Shenjian's solo entrance, did not lend others to let their guard down easily. Although Yu Shenjian's words were diverting, they did nothing to soften the atmosphere. Li Qingyu said coldly, "If Yuan Zongju is here to be a guest, we will naturally sweep our house to welcome you, but if you have ill intentions, please forgive Jianghu for being unable to host you." Yuan Xiaoxiu smiled, "Li Gongzi is quick to anger, I just asked a question. If Ch102 is open to anyone, surely Hehuan sect can attend as well." Her beautiful eyes scanned the surroundings, settled on Yuan Xiaoxiu. "This must be Li Yulagong's Shaogongzu. I've long heard that Li Yulagong disciples have sharp minds, they know the ranking of the world's martial masters like the back of their hand. Can I ask Yuan Shaogongzu, on your Li Yulagong rank list, how does our Hehuan sect fare?" Everyone knew Yuan Xiaoxiu was a Li Yulagong disciple, but they didn't know she was actually the Shaogongzu. Yuan Xiaoxiu's words had exposed her identity. If you were to say she hadn't planned this before coming, no one would believe you. Yuan Xiaoxiu sat still. Hearing this without blinking, she rattled off a bunch of data. Hehuan sect Yuan Xiaoxiu, in the Jianghu ranked 9th, her disciple Xiao Se, with a fan as his sword, defeated Zongnanpai sect leader Guo Sun, Liuebang master Shang Guanxin Chen, Linchuang Xiugong Zhan Ziqian, etc. His Wujiang is first rank as evident. Hehuan sect Sang Jing Sim, in the Jianghu rank 6th, his disciple Bai Rong, with Palm style as her strength. Due to her practice of Hehuan sect secret manuals, her Wujiang has grown exponentially. There are also the other disciples Xia Hankaiu, Ji Shuang Zhou Qiu, etc. Their Wujiang is not as good as Bai Rong, but notable figures of their generation in the Jianghu. Not only the crowd, even Yuan Xiaoxiu hearing this was surprised. Liu Ligong is Liu Ligong, even I didn't know Xiao Se had defeated a Linchuang Xiaogong disciple. Yuan Xiaogongzi clearly has it all at her fingertips, all by memory. Yuan Xiao's face showed no sign of pride, just said blandly, if someone wanted to know this it wouldn't be too hard, it's not a secret, I just asked some people, and went to a few different places. At this moment someone asked, Yuan Niangzi, the top 10 list you're talking about, is it the one from 10 years ago or the one 10 years later? Yuan Xiao, naturally it's the one now. That person wasn't satisfied. Shijiandawai hasn't even passed its halfway mark, many masters have not made an appearance, how was the top 10 rank list determined? Yuan Xiao, one iteration of Shijiandawai, how can it encompass the world's masters? Today is merely an opportunity for the elite of the Jianghu to have a few exchanges. If there emerges one or two grand masters who have never made an appearance, then the rank list will naturally shift, if not, then the list is ranked as before. The other asked, can I ask as of now who exactly are considered the top 10, would Yuan Xiaogongzi tell us so we have the fortune of hearing it? Yuan Xiao seemed willing to answer all questions. Jianghu's 10th is uncertain, before it was Suan Han's previous Zhangjiao Shen Qiao, but after Shen Qiao lost at Banbu Peak, he was replaced by Kunyi, later Kunyi's Shikshan Duan Vinyang came to the Central Plains, and so was replaced by Duan Vinyang, then not too long ago, Shen Qiao crossed paths with Duan Vinyang at Sumaner in Chang'an. Both sides objectively were evenly matched, but Duan Vinyang had just had a match with Chiniangwenli. Qingyu before fighting Shen Qiao had the advantage, so the person ranked 10th, is still Duan Vinyang. Gu Hanbo frowned, your ranking is very biased, my Shen Shikshan is a martial arts genius, inheriting Shizun's mantle, the Banbu Peak event, he had suffered a betrayal, and his Wuzhong was severely diminished, and he continues to suffer repeated setbacks. If we're talking about his previous Wuzhong level, it was definitely more impressive than Kunyi or Duan Vinyang, how can he not even be in the top 10? Yuan Xiao looked at her, a person can never remain in one place forever, it's only natural that due to circumstances they advance or retreat, you didn't wait until I was done speaking to interrupt. Is this not biased? Gu Hanbo knew her reasoning was flawed, didn't say more, but the gaze she directed at the other was gently glowing. Yuan Xiao ignored her, and continued, Jianghu's 9th, I already said, is Hehuan sect Zongju Yuan Xiaoxiu. Ranked 8th, to Yuhan Master Jushi's Hijhe. This Jushi's Hijhe, most people had only heard of, never seen, and knew even less. Someone asked, since Jushi's Hijhe never set foot in the Central Plains Wulin, how was this ranking determined? Yuan Xiao, of the three demonic sects, only Fahing sect ventured far west, ran their affairs out of Tuyuhan for a number of years. Jushi's Hijhe and Fahing sect Zongjiguang Lingsan had a fight, where he lost by a small margin. Since then he's been in seclusion. Huang Lingsan commented on his Wuzhong, he said they had been evenly matched, and he only won by luck. Yuan Xiaoxiu hearing herself ranked 9th, and merely ahead of Duan Vinyang, was not upset, but very interested to hear more. According to Xiaogongzi's words, the one ranked 7th must be Fahing sect Zongjiguang Lingsan. Yuan Xiao, that's right. Never mind the accuracy of these rankings, but hearing the reasoning behind them, and that they were not totally made up, as she continued on to the higher rankings, everyone grew more interested in who they might be. If one doesn't love power, then it must be fame. All in all can't be too far off from these two. Everyone has curiosity and ambition, depends on how big or small. or overbearing. Even Yi Baikan, a grandmaster, hearing Yuan Xiao's commentary on the world's elite, was interested, never mind the other people in the audience. What about the higher ones? He might be able to rein in his curiosity, but the others beside him couldn't help asking. Yuan Xiao, moving up, starting with the sixth, can be considered within the realm of the grandmasters, if we're not talking about character or demeanor, and about Wuzhong alone. This person has enough ability to start their own section. She had previously mentioned, Sang Jingxin was ranked 6th, to the realm of grandmasters, he was included. Yuan Xiaoxia bit back a laugh. It looks like Xiaogongzi holds Sang Zhanglao in high regard. Yuan Xiao replied blandly, Yuan Zhongju has no need to disagree. Hehuan sect has two inner factions, everyone is aware. If you could deal with Sang Jingxin, how could you tolerate his hold over you? The other's words exposed the inner conflict within her sect. Hearing it, Yuan Xiaoxia's smile didn't change, but across her face was a fleeting killing intent. Qiniangwen today is a leader among the Daoist sects. I'll bet Yi Guanzu is within Li Yulagong's top 5. The person who asked this clearly wanted to suck up to Qiniangwen. Yuan Xiao, that's right, Jianghu's 5th, should belong to Zhoukuashi Switting Chanchi, but Suan Dus Han's previous Zhangjiao Shen Qiao's Wuzhong has increased significantly, can perhaps be for the 5th position. As for the 4th and the 3rd, it should be between Linchuang Xiugong Ruyan Ky and Qiniangwen Yi Guanzu, but I've never seen the two cross paths, so I can't be certain. Then what about the 1st and the 2nd? Someone asked. Yuan Xiao, Huanyu sect Zongju Yan Wushi, can vie for this position. As for the 1st, she wasn't someone who mumbled her words, she didn't continue for some reason, just shook her head. Everyone was surprised that Yan Wushi's ranking was so high, but then again, in this world there weren't too many people who could be ambushed by 5 grandmasters and emerge intact. Never mind that among the 5 there were 3 who were in the top 10, Yan Wushi's potential was truly impressive. To say he was 2nd in the world, there was nothing unacceptable about this. Someone doubted, 10 years ago the person ranked 1st was Qi Fengge. Could it be that even after his death, the spot remains empty, that no one can outrank Qi Fengge? But no matter how the others asked, Yuan Xiao did not speak further. Someone tried provoking her, Li Yulagong's rank list can't be accurate, even the 1st place position can't be determined, how can they speak to the others? Yuan Xiao coldly said, if you don't believe it, you can go up the list and challenge them one by one to a fight. If you can beat them all, the number 1 rank in the world is yours. Yuan Xiao smiled, as I see it, to determine the accuracy of these rankings, we have to go by evidence, although we're missing a few people today, but there's me, Yi Guanzu, and Shen Qiao, 3 out of 10, it shouldn't be hard to have a satisfying match. Li Qingyu, coldly, you're not worthy of fighting my Shizun, you can have an exchange with me first. Saying this he pulled out his sword, Qiushui's sword in that second was like rippling autumn water, in his hands spilled forth. Although Li Qingyu was strong, he wasn't yet within the world's top 10, why would Yuan Xiaoxia be afraid of him? Not waiting for word from her, Xiao Se stepped out and laughed, no need for Zongju to participate, let me fight you. As these words fell, their feet left the ground, and they headed towards each other, their match began. Although Yuan Xiao had ranked her 2nd last, Yuan Xiaoxia didn't take this ranking to heart, she was just using Yuan Xiao's words to start things off. At this moment she smiled, Yi Guanzu, since our disciples are having a match, shouldn't we as their shifu, give them an example? Her purpose in coming was very clear, to catch thieves first capture their leader, If they could seize Yi Baikan, never mind Shijiandawai or the alliance, everything would fall apart. Even if the other sects wanted to stand against Hehuan sect, having gone through one round of bloodshed, was certainly to be affected, and too afraid to raise more waves. Seeing that this match was inevitable, Yi Baikan set down his fukin, turned to receive the long sword that his disciple handed him, nodded, "Then this poor one will learn from Yuan Zongju." Yu Shenjun, seeing this, moved closer to Shen Qiao and said by his ear, "Shidi shouldn't force things right now. After Yi Baikan loses you can make an appearance, at that time the position of head of the alliance will be yours easily." Shen Qiao couldn't laugh or cry, "But I never wanted this position." Yu Shenjun, alarmed, "Shizun ordered me to come here to assist you. If you don't want to be head of the alliance, why did he send me?" Shen Qiao thought, "Your Shizun always acts as he thinks, his words and actions are not like those of others, how would I know what he is thinking?" Yu Shenjun didn't know the events that had happened between Yan Wushi and Shen Qiao, and didn't know his Shifu's attitude shift. He had just assumed that Shizun hadn't given up his antics towards Shen Qiao, likely had another idea, so didn't ask further. He might have completely misunderstood, and was still treating Shen Qiao as before. End of the chapter. Stay tuned for more BL.